So, how many of you here own a pet from a shelter? Okay, so should animal shelters be allowed to euthanize pets? In our society today, we are seeing an increase in the amount of pets, but we're seeing a decrease in the amount of people who want to adopt these pets in shelters. So personally, I have adopted 3 dogs from shelters. So I'm very passionate about no-kill shelters and people rescuing dogs and cats from shelters rather than from somewhere else, such as a breeder. So animal shelters should not be allowed to euthanize pets because it is inhumane, and there are plenty of people in the US who are willing to adopt these pets and who should adopt these pets. Today, we'll first be discussing why shelters should not be allowed to euthanize pets. Then I will go into the statistics of euthanasia in US pet shelters. And lastly, I will present some solutions to prevent euthanasia from growing and happening more often. So why should shelters not be allowed to euthanize pets? First of all, pets don't deserve to die. They're living and breathing organisms just like us humans. Second of all, plenty of people in the US are willing to adopt people from shelters, and there are plenty of people that should adopt pets from shelters. In an article by the Dodo in 2016, there were 316.1 million people living in the US, and about 3 to 4 million pets being euthanized. That's 1% of the US population. So if you think about it, if just 1% of the US population were to adopt pets from shelters, then there would be no need for euthanasia at all. Lastly, it is inhumane to kill animals. If you think about it, it would be just like killing a human because it's living and breathing just like we are. So now that you know why pets should not be euthanized in shelters, I want to discuss some of the statistics of pets that are euthanized in shelters. So according to the ASPCA, there are 6.5 animals, those are including cats and dogs, that enter animal shelters in the US yearly, and 1.5 million of those animals are euthanized. So this is a decrease from 2.6 million in 2011, but if you think about it, 1.5 million is still a huge number of animals that are being euthanized. So some solutions that we can use to prevent euthanasia in animal shelters is to eradicate puppy mills. If you don't know what a puppy mill is essentially a breeding ground where people can breed a wide variety of dogs, and they can breed hundreds of dogs. And what they do is they sell these dogs to pet shops in malls and stuff like that, and these pet shops sell these dogs and puppies for thousands of dollars. And this is just because people are looking for the ideal dogs, such as a French Bulldog, a Husky, a German Shepherd, dogs like these that people think are really cute or are ideal dogs to train to do a certain task. So also, shelters have low adoption fees too, which is better than obviously $1,000 at a puppy mill. So it's only about $100 to adopt a dog from a pet shelter, and that's including fees for spay and neutering and microchipping. Lastly, another solution is for people to take responsibility of their pets in order to prevent their pets ending up in a shelter where they can eventually be euthanized. So according to the American Humane, some different solutions to keep your dog from ending up in a shelter is to first give them a collar with a tag that has your information on it. So if your pet was to ever go missing, if somebody found that pet, then they could contact you and you could get your pet back. Also, you should get your pet microchipped so that if they ever get lost and somebody turns them into a shelter, then that shelter can scan them for a microchip and they can end up tracking you down and you can get your pet back. And lastly, you should keep your licenses current. When you adopt a pet from a shelter or anywhere, you have to have a license to get that pet, and that pet gets added onto your license. So if your dog was to end up in a shelter, then somebody could look at the different licenses and see who owns that dog, and they could track it down and you could get your animal back. So also shelters often euthanize their pets because they reach full capacity, meaning they can't take in any more dogs, but dogs keep coming in, so they have to kill other dogs that maybe are older or have certain diseases, or just that the shelter thinks won't get adopted as soon. So they end up killing them. So a solution to this is that when these shelters reach full capacity, they could donate or send their dogs to no-kill shelters where they will definitely not be euthanized under any circumstances. So, in conclusion, shelters should not be allowed to euthanize pets because it is inhumane. There are plenty of people who are willing to adopt pets from shelters, and pets just don't deserve to die. And also, the statistics of euthanasia have decreased in the US, but there are still a large number of pets that are being euthanized for no reason, when there are many solutions to these problems, such as eradicating puppy mills so that people are more willing to adopt from shelters, and also for owners to take responsibility of their pets so they don't end up lost and in a shelter, and also for shelters that are at full capacity to donate their dogs or send their dogs to shelters that are no kills so that will not be euthanized. Thank you, and I hope you will rescue a dog.